Welcome to Chroma Celebs. I'm Rose, bringing you the latest shocking updates on Sister Wives. Unexpected twists, emotional moments, and unbelievable drama. Stay tuned till the end. For over a decade, fans of reality television have followed the complex and ever-evolving saga of the Brown family on TLC's Sister Wives. The series, which first aired in 2010, introduced audiences to Kody Brown, a man navigating the highs and lows of plural marriage with his four wives, Mary, Yanel, Christine, and Robyn. While the show initially painted a picture of spiritual unity and shared purpose, time has gradually peeled back the layers of each marriage, revealing not only cracks in the foundation but heartbreaks too intimate to ignore. Among the most emotionally resonant revelations to emerge from recent seasons and interviews are the raw, unfiltered comments made by Christine Brown, who is not only separated from Kody but also dared to speak publicly about the painful reality of their physical intimacy, or the haunting lack thereof. Christine's decision to open up about her sex life, or more accurately, the absence of one, has sent ripples through the fan community and wider television audience. Her words were not the bitter musings of a scorned woman but rather a long-overdue outpouring of truth that gave voice to years of quiet suffering. When she described her past intimacy with Kody as sad and admitted that their romantic life was essentially non-existent in the final years of their relationship, the statement carried a weight that resonated far beyond the world of reality TV. It became a testament to the emotional starvation that can occur when love becomes obligation, and when spiritual beliefs clash with personal needs. Christine, once a proud advocate for plural marriage and Kody's third wife by spiritual covenant, had long portrayed herself as the upbeat maternal figure among the sister wives. Her personality often shone through episodes as bubbly and nurturing, always looking for the bright side, eager to please and committed to the family ideal. But behind that sunny disposition was a woman who had spent years wrestling with unmet needs, lingering feelings of rejection, and the profound loneliness that comes from being emotionally and physically sidelined in a marriage. Her confession, especially during a key scene in season 17 of Sister Wives, laid bare the cost of sustaining a relationship that no longer felt mutual, where the intimacy once shared had withered into an occasional, almost ceremonial gesture devoid of affection or desire. One of the most poignant revelations came during Christine's sit-down confessional, where she directly addressed the demise of her intimacy with Kody. Her voice trembled as she shared that Kody no longer wanted an intimate marriage with her and that he had expressed this sentiment plainly. The revelation was not just shocking, it was devastating. Christine described the conversation in which Kody had bluntly informed her that he was no longer interested in maintaining a physical relationship. According to her, he said he didn't find her attractive and saw no point in pretending. That moment, though it broke her heart, also became the turning point that forced her to confront the emotional and spiritual stagnation of their marriage. In that moment of stark honesty, Christine had a choice: continue living in a marriage where she felt undesirable and unloved, or reclaim her identity and worth by walking away. Her decision to leave, though deeply painful, marked one of the most powerful story arcs in the series. And as she began to open up more in subsequent interviews and specials, particularly during the tell-all segments, her story took on a deeper resonance. Christine was no longer simply a reality TV character. She had become a symbol of personal awakening, a woman finding her voice after years of suppression. But Christine's confession did not exist in a vacuum. It highlighted broader issues surrounding the entire dynamic of the Brown family's plural marriage. For years, Kody had managed to keep four women committed to a family structure that required immense emotional discipline, often at the expense of their individual needs. The assumption, especially among viewers unfamiliar with polygamy, was that physical intimacy might be a delicate subject, but at the very least, each wife had some equitable share of Kody's affection. Christine's heartbreaking admission dismantled that illusion. She candidly revealed that their sex life had been lacking for a long time, and that when it did happen, it often felt more obligatory than loving. The tenderness was gone. The romance was dead. And what remained was a hollow shell of what should have been a mutual connection. To further complicate matters, Kody's shifting emotional focus, particularly his increasing attachment to his fourth wife, Robyn, only intensified Christine's sense of abandonment. Fans of the show had long speculated that Kody had been spending disproportionate amounts of time with Robyn and her children. What was once a shared life among sister wives had slowly devolved into a single, conventional relationship masquerading under the banner of plural marriage. Christine herself acknowledged that she felt like an outsider within her own family, increasingly alienated by Kody's favoritism and emotionally isolated by the absence of physical affection. She recalled in multiple interviews how their bedroom life had grown cold, not because of a mutual decision but because Kody had simply checked out, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Christine's decision to break the silence was not without its challenges. There were moments when she questioned whether speaking up about such a private matter would be worth the public scrutiny. But she ultimately recognized that her story might help other women, whether in polygamous marriages or monogamous ones, realize they are not alone. The courage it took to openly declare that she deserved more than a sad sex life was transformative. It redefined her role on the show and within the broader cultural conversation. No longer just one of Kody Brown's wives, Christine had become her own person, reclaiming her autonomy in full view of millions of viewers. The aftermath of Christine's departure and the revelations that followed also caused a seismic shift within the Brown family itself. Meri and Yanel, the two other original wives, began to express their own frustrations more openly. While the specifics of their sex lives with Kody have not been aired with the same degree of detail, the emotional currents have grown increasingly turbulent. Yanel, who had often maintained a more platonic bond with Kody, began voicing her own doubts about the future. Meri, long seen as emotionally wounded from her fractured relationship with Kody, remained in a marital limbo, estranged in all but title. Christine's bravery in addressing the deeply personal topic of intimacy set off a chain reaction, allowing the other wives to reevaluate what they were receiving or not receiving from their marriage to Kody. For Kody Brown, the revelations have triggered an intense period of public backlash and personal reckoning. Once viewed as the charismatic patriarch capable of holding together a large, unconventional family, he has come under increasing criticism for what many fans see as emotional neglect and favoritism. His own comments during the show and in tell-all episodes often lacked the introspection fans hoped for. Rather than showing regret or empathy, he sometimes responded with defensiveness or placed the blame on the wives for not being sufficiently obedient or supportive. This, in turn, fueled further anger among viewers and deepened the narrative that Christine, and possibly others, had been subjected to emotional abandonment disguised as plural love. Christine's journey did not end with her departure from the Brown household. In fact, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one filled with self-discovery, new love, and a renewed sense of self-worth. She began dating again, ultimately marrying David Woolley, a man she described as emotionally present, kind, and supportive. Their relationship, in stark contrast to the emotionally barren dynamic she had with Kody, became a beacon of hope for many fans. Christine frequently shared updates on social media, often accompanied by glowing photos and captions that radiated genuine happiness. In one memorable post, she said she finally felt seen and cherished, a statement that underscored the profound emotional gap she had endured for years. The juxtaposition of Christine's new romance against the backdrop of her old one further amplified the heartbreak of her revelations. For many viewers, it became clear just how much she had endured in silence, and how powerful it was for her to break free. She had gone from being one wife among four to a woman living her truth, boldly stepping into a life where her needs were not only acknowledged but prioritized. The narrative of her sad sex life with Kody was not simply a confession, it was a eulogy for a marriage that had long since died, spoken aloud so that it could finally be laid to rest. In a broader cultural context, Christine's honesty has contributed to ongoing conversations about marriage, intimacy, and female empowerment. In a society where women are often expected to suffer in silence or maintain appearances for the sake of family unity, her decision to speak out was both radical and deeply necessary. She reminded viewers that intimacy is not just about sex, it's about connection, validation, and the freedom to express love without fear of rejection. Her story resonated with women in all types of relationships, many of whom reached out online to share their own experiences of emotional neglect and the bravery it takes to leave. Christine Brown's heartbreaking confession about her sex life with Kody Brown will likely be remembered as one of the most pivotal moments in the Sister Wives franchise. It stripped away the romanticized veil of plural marriage and exposed the very human pain lurking beneath the surface. More importantly, it gave voice to a woman who had spent years in the shadows, loving deeply but receiving little in return. By stepping into the light and telling her story, Christine didn't just liberate herself. She became a symbol of resilience, reminding all who watched her that even the saddest chapters can lead to powerful new beginnings. As Sister Wives continues into its latest seasons, the impact of Christine's honesty lingers. Viewers are now watching with new eyes, questioning not only the sustainability of plural marriage but also the emotional cost borne by those who are expected to share love without receiving it in equal measure. Whether the remaining wives will follow in Christine's footsteps remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: her voice has forever changed the narrative. No longer simply part of a household experiment, Christine Brown has emerged as the beating heart of a story about liberation, courage, and the pursuit of a love that is not just spiritual or contractual, but genuinely mutual and whole. Over the years, the popular TLC series Sister Wives has laid bare the intricate and emotionally charged lives of the Brown family. What began in 2010 as a show exploring the plural marriage of Kody Brown and his 4 wives, Mary, Yanel, Christine, and Robyn, evolved into something far deeper and more poignant. As the seasons rolled on, so too did the revelations, heartbreaks, and interpersonal struggles that turned the show from an exploration of polygamy into a raw portrait of human longing and unmet needs. Among the most dramatic and emotionally charged arcs in recent years has been that of Yanel Brown, the second wife in Kody's plural union. What was once a seemingly steady, if emotionally restrained, relationship gradually became a mirror reflecting the emotional chaos and disillusionment at the heart of the family. And when Yanel finally snapped, when she laid bare the truth of her deteriorating relationship and scorched the remnants of the romantic facade, fans were left stunned, watching a woman awaken to her own power. For much of the series, Yanel was considered the pragmatic wife. Calm, steady, and often emotionally reserved, she wasn't known for dramatics or impulsivity. While Christine and Mary often wore their hearts on their sleeves, Yanel was the one who kept things running, managed finances, and maintained a kind of emotional detachment from the more tumultuous undercurrents in the family. But beneath that composed exterior was a woman slowly being worn down by years of emotional neglect, passive manipulation, and the deep loneliness that often accompanies spiritual marriages devoid of true partnership. When Yanel finally erupted, verbally confronting Kody, distancing herself from his control, and voicing the rage that had simmered for years, it wasn't just a personal declaration. It was a reckoning. The catalyst for this unraveling wasn't a single explosive moment, but rather the accumulation of countless slights, emotional withdrawals, and Kody's shifting focus toward his 4th wife, Robyn. Yanel, like Christine before her, had long witnessed the steady erosion of Kody's attention and affection. While he once divided his time relatively evenly among his wives, the later seasons revealed a stark imbalance. Kody was clearly spending more time with Robyn, prioritizing her needs, and building what many fans viewed as a monogamous relationship under the guise of plural marriage. The other wives, once part of a complex but unified family, were slowly being pushed to the sidelines, emotionally starved and spiritually drained. Yanel's tolerance, which once seemed like quiet strength, began to fray as Kody's behavior grew more erratic and demanding. His expectations that the wives conform to his rules, particularly during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, pushed Yanel to a breaking point. She was expected to enforce strict isolation protocols to align with Kody's rules that often seemed tailored to accommodate Robyn's comfort above all else. The hypocrisy was glaring. While Kody berated Yanel's sons for not complying with his pandemic guidelines, he was frequently seen with Robyn's children, creating a double standard that Yanel could no longer ignore. The moment that fans would later refer to as Yanel going scorched earth came in season 17, when tensions between her and Kody finally exploded in front of the cameras. After years of emotionally distant conversations and subdued frustrations, Yanel let it all out. She didn't just disagree with Kody, she challenged the entire narrative he had tried to craft. She accused him of manipulating the family dynamics, prioritizing Robyn to the detriment of the other wives, and failing to be the husband he had claimed to be. In her own words, she expressed disbelief at how much she had compromised for a relationship that had given her so little in return. Her voice cracked with emotion, but her resolve was firm. This was not the voice of a woman seeking reconciliation, it was the voice of a woman reclaiming her agency after years of silence. One of the most devastating aspects of Yanel's confession was her acknowledgement that she and Kody no longer had a romantic relationship, nor did they share emotional intimacy. Their marriage, she explained, had become little more than a co-parenting arrangement, and even that was strained. She admitted that she hadn't felt truly close to Kody in years, and that the emotional distance had become insurmountable. Unlike earlier seasons, where she often justified the arrangement as necessary for the family structure, Yanel now saw clearly that her own needs had been buried under a mountain of spiritual obligation and misplaced loyalty. Yanel's confrontation with Kody was powerful not because it was dramatic, but because it was so heartbreakingly honest. She wasn't trying to hurt him, she was trying to liberate herself. She didn't yell or scream. Instead, she methodically dismantled the illusions she had once clung to piece by piece. She exposed the emotional neglect, the lack of partnership, and the manipulation that had been dressed up as patriarchal leadership. And in doing so, she echoed the sentiments that Christine had previously voiced, sentiments that resonated with a massive audience of women who had, at some point, been gaslit into believing that their needs were selfish. What made Yanel's scorched earth moment even more impactful was the fact that it came from someone who had once believed so firmly in the family's vision. Yanel was not a woman who entered polygamy lightly. She had studied its spiritual implications, embraced the lifestyle, and invested decades of her life building the Brown family's homestead and future. Her departure or emotional severing wasn't an impulsive decision, it was the result of a long, painful awakening. It was a divorce of the soul long before it became a separation on paper. And when she finally let go, it was with the kind of clarity that comes from surviving emotional drought. The reaction from fans was immediate and overwhelmingly supportive. Social media lit up with messages of solidarity, as viewers who had watched Yanel play the dutiful wife now applauded her for stepping into her truth. For many, her decision to confront Kody and reject his increasingly authoritarian control marked one of the most empowering moments in reality television. Women from all walks of life saw in Yanel a reflection of their own struggles, the silent sacrifices, the emotional betrayals, and the societal pressure to endure for the sake of family. Her bravery in speaking out became a rallying cry for those who had once swallowed their pain to keep the peace. Kody, for his part, reacted to Yanel's statements with a mixture of confusion, anger, and denial. Much like his response to Christine's departure, he seemed unwilling to fully acknowledge his role in the breakdown of the relationship. Instead, he positioned himself as a victim of disobedient wives who failed to support his authority. This inability or refusal to introspect only deepened the emotional chasm between him and the women he had once claimed to love. His increasingly defensive posture, combined with his apparent favoritism toward Robyn, alienated him further from the family he had once led with pride. The fallout from Yanel's scorched earth moment extended far beyond her relationship with Kody. It also disrupted the already fragile bonds between the remaining wives.